You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. And be sure to smash that like button. For the 8th time, LSU, college baseball's national champion. A massive part of the evolution of this season was clearly the pitching staff, which led the nation in strikeouts, and dudes just throwing the pill in Omaha. It was incredible to watch. And, of course, Nate Yeskie is LSU's pitching coach who oversees that staff, and he is good enough to join us for a couple of minutes here. Coach, I know it's a tremendously busy day, and I can't thank you enough for grabbing the phone call and spending a few minutes with us. How are you?
Pretty good.
It feels like a dumb question to ask on this day, but one nonetheless. This is kind of old hat. You've won a national championship before. You've been to Omaha with 4 different programs. How does this one compare to the previous visits?
I suppose it's like having a couple different kids in your family, so to speak, because you love them all the same. They're all unique and different in their own way, and certainly very happy for our fans and this group of kids that really put forth a lot of work, a lot of effort, and dealt with some adversity at certain points of the season, which every team's going to. But I feel like they played their best brand of baseball down the stretch, and some teams challenged us, and that's good, and that's probably what makes it a little more gratifying on top of it.
I think one of the most compelling storylines of this season is the growth and development and progression of a lot of the guys in your staff. And you got to start with Cade Anderson. Coach, this was a guy who in conference play a year ago had an ERA north of 20, and now he's probably going to be the first pick in the draft. How in the world did that evolution happen?
Well, it's the challenge, and I would compare it to, I would say, football in the SEC. A lot of times you're not going to see a freshman get under center and be able to just sling it around the field and be on a Heisman watch list or winning a Heisman. And there's a lot of complexities that go with it. And there's lots of guys in other dugouts that are good at their job, and they're going to set their lineups and do some things. And a lot of times when you're a freshman, you're going up, especially in this day and age where kids are getting a fifth year, in some cases 6 years. Heck, there was a young man that Coach Johnson and I had recruited, I believe it was at Arizona, that was in maybe his 6th or 7th year of college baseball, and that was this year. So to put it in perspective, when you're 18, most kids are coming out of high school. When you're 24, 25, you should be in AA. And that's just not the case anymore in college athletics. So it's a challenge physically, it's a challenge mentally, it's a challenge emotionally. And Cade was up to the task. And I think we saw that based on his performance. But you knew it was coming at some point based on how he went about his business. You knew because you can – again, using football, you stand on the sideline, you see a guy zip the ball out of his hand, and you're like, as soon as he learns how to read the safeties, this guy's going to have it figured out, and pass protection, whatever it may be. And in Cade's sense, it was just getting a better sense of reading swings, understanding things, and he and I would communicate a lot of times just in game with a look, and he would recognize some of the things that we discussed. And once he started recognizing those things, it was just a matter of almost getting the heck out of his way and just let him go compete.
Coach, the performance in the finals is one that, it's only been matched by one other guy in the history of this program in the College World Series, Brett Laxton in '93, a complete game shutout. We'll talk about it literally for as long as they play baseball at LSU. Through your eyes, what worked so well, and did you know, did you have a sense before the game it was going to go like that?
No, I thought he was spraying it a little bit, even in the bullpen, and I thought, okay, he'll reel it in at some point, and he did there for a bit, but that's the blessing of having stuff. It's the blessing of having 4 pitches, and at times when they started to adjust, he would go on to something else that was working for him. I mean, he struck guys out with the changeup, the curveball, the slider, the fastball, and he was seemingly just enough ahead of each guy to be able to really get himself where he needed to and pick up the victory. And at times when he really needed to make a pitch, he made the pitch. And I think that's a quality that you see in guys that are winners in this sport in particular, because sometimes you might not be very good early in the count, but late in the count when it matters, if you can buckle down and make it. And I thought even Anthony did that to some degree yesterday as well. So, Brett Laxton's performance, I watched that when I was in high school and thought, man, it's So I'm aware of what that looks like, and was fortunate enough to be in the dugout when another young man had done something similar some years ago. So it's just, I don't know if you can ever predict those things. You just kind of watch it unfold, and our guys, they certainly enjoy playing behind Cade. And when he's got the ball, we feel like we've got a chance to beat anybody.
What was the one you were in the dugout for?
In 2018, we had a young man throw a 2-hit shutout in Game 3 of the finals.
Yep.
So it's just great to be a part of that and watch those kids do the things that they do. So it's very enjoyable.
That was the 2018 national champion Oregon State team, a fantastic team. And as is this one. That's now in that rarefied air, 8 national championships at LSU. I'm curious, what did it look like through your perspective, the ground ball double play for Chase Shores to get the final outs? What do you remember?
You know, my wife and I were just talking about it, and I said it was like he was the gas that was being poured on the flames of our fan base, because it seemed like as each fastball kind of ripped through the zone and he was landing the breaking ball and punching guys out, it was like they just kept turning the volume up and and get it going. And I really thought there at the end, like, he was doing such a good job of pressing the ball with quality pitches in the bottom of the strike zone. When you're doing that, you're one pitch away from it. And I had leaned over to Cade Anderson beforehand because he was doing the chart. And I said, you know, a double play would be nice to end this thing. And I started thinking to myself, I would like it to be 4-6-3 because I just feel like it plays better between those two guys in that direction. I wasn't going to be picky. I really didn't care. But when it was hit out of the hand, you know, when it was put in play and it was turned, I kind of blacked out for a minute. I turned around and I couldn't find anybody to celebrate with, and Bill Franquez was standing there, and I think I scared the daylights out of him because I grabbed him and bear hugged him, and I said, you know what, this is the best guy that I can find right now, so you're getting it, buddy. And he had shared with me, he said, you know, this is probably the best, you know, portion of the celebration that he was able to enjoy, because, you know, each one of them is different in his mind, but I don't know that he's been in the trenches in that capacity. His role is different. Sometimes he's probably up in the press box, but you know, he's been here for all of them, and certainly just the perspective that he provides. I enjoy talking with him, but then obviously you find Jay and the rest of the staff and the players, and it's one of those things that you want to be able to slow it down. And that's the hard part when you're going into the ninth that people may not understand, is you're sitting there wanting that double play ball, but you're also wanting to pause, because you're never going to see that team play together again. And so it's really, you know, just kind of crazy when you're putting all of those things through your mind. Like, you want to see him play, you want to see him succeed, but you also don't want it to end. You know, it was a storybook ending for these kids, and one that they definitely earned.
What was it about this team that makes you feel that way about them? Because I imagine that's not true for every team you've ever coached.
No, what's interesting is, like, when they were challenged, they almost played better. When it seemed like it was a little bit tougher, and I don't want to use the term backs against the wall. I mean, you're going to be challenged every time you go out there, and you can frame it however you wish, but it almost seemed like as the games got bigger and more was expected of them, they performed to that level and potentially even more. And that's what was crazy. Somebody told me on the plane ride home, they said, you realize we only used 3 guys this weekend. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even, it hadn't crossed my mind. And the fact that we grinded out at bats, Braswell, I mean, you can't speak enough, not only about his play at third base, but how about Luis behind the plate? Yeah. Stanfield tracking down balls, and left field's not easy to play in that ballpark by any means. So, you know, guys around the diamond just doing what they did. And really, I don't feel like there was any tension in the dugout or nerves. The guys were pretty loose the whole time, you know, and I think when you can go in there relaxed and you can play well, they took great instruction. I felt like Jay had a good plan for what he wanted to do on the offensive side. We would talk about some of the things he wanted to do on the pitching side, and it all just played out. So, you know, it made it enjoyable. And man, again, the fans, like the support for those kids coming out of the hotel each day and coming back, and even just the bus rides down the field, like, it was just littered with LSU fans everywhere. And it's just, I've seen it from the other side, so I'm glad to have seen it from this side now. So I can say that it's really a lot more enjoyable when you're wearing the purple and gold.
Nate Yeskie's with us here for a couple more minutes. Coach, when you left the ballpark, what was last night like for you, for your family when you got back to the hotel?
It's almost like crossing the finish line to a degree. Just we know what each 12-month window looks like, and we're kind of on the start of a new one here today.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little tough. My family has traveled to this event every year that I've been fortunate enough to be here, and losing my dad earlier this year was tough. And he would love being here. He would love seeing other family members and just being at the ballpark and being able to talk to fans and just enjoy it. I mean, I grew up on the baseball field, and being around him and my grandfather, who both enjoyed it, it was bittersweet being out in front of the statue out front where we were able to do things. And I looked over at the seats where they would sit the year that we won it, and the space where they would be at other times when we were playing. So that was a tough pill to swallow. I'm sure they had better seats at this time to be able to watch, but at the same time, I mean, it was great. My daughter is getting older. She's much more in tune with what's going on than the first time or second time or, the other times that she's been here. So it's fun watching her just kind of have the awareness to how the game is played, who's doing what, is so-and-so okay. And my wife, I mean, she's a warrior. She's been really just kind of welded into the cockpit with me to go and go on this journey. And she supports those kids, through thick and thin. And it's just really fun to be able to share it with them and certainly our fans as well.
I certainly appreciate the candor. I asked Coach Johnson this question. I'll ask you the same, being very respectful of your time. Was there a point in this season where you knew, just what you described, the team that seemingly played better when they faced some adversity? I mean, quite literally, your staff, I don't even know if you know this, they had a better batting average against when there was runners on base than when there was nobody on base in Omaha. Was there a point in this evolution where you knew this team had that it thing, whatever it is, that lets them do that? Was there a moment?
I think there were glimpses. I mean, Bears home run against Tennessee, they gave us a chance to get in there, and we took advantage of it. And I mean, that's why you got to play all 27 outs or even more if you're going to extras. There were snapshots through there, but I felt like once we got into the SEC tournament, even though we lost to Ole Miss, I thought we played pretty well. And it's just like, hey, listen, we felt like if Curiel and Stanfield got on twice a game, you're gonna have a hard time beating us.
Yeah.
If those two got on base and Jones is clicking, like just mail it in, because anything else that Jake Brown torching right-handers and Ethan Fry torching left-handers, and there's things that you can see kind of evolving, and then Danny doing his part. You go around the diamond. Luis had some big swings down the stretch. It seemed like when somebody wasn't really maybe going to be expected to do something, they had a moment, and that's, I think, kind of a characteristic of great teams, where you could go back and say, hey, do you remember this weekend? Oh yeah, so-and-so. And well, what about this one? I mean, how about Zach Cowan against Arkansas?
Yeah.
The guy went out there and just spun it great. Jaden Newt was behind him. And then, of course, the big fella Shores, the last probably month and a half, was what I think people expected when he stepped foot on campus and going through his obstacles, that he's had to go through. It's great that he really started to kind of peak at the time where we needed him most. And that's what's, I think, fun looking back on this group of kids, is that every one of them had a part in it. And we were talking about that as a team when we got back, that even some of the guys that didn't swing a bat, make a pitch, field a ground ball, or anything along those lines were still very invested. Their energy was felt, their support, a lot of different things that went into this. And that's, I think, what I'll probably remember the most is just, it was a total collaborative effort across the board. Cade Beatty caught big innings in conference play. Dalton Beck, big single up the middle against Tennessee. And you can pick those moments throughout there. But yeah, I felt like towards the end of the year, our guys were just almost like, all right, good postseason. This is what we've been sharpening our tools for. So let's get to work.
And the journey ended atop the mountain for the 8th time in program history, the 2nd time for you as a head coach, Nate Yeskie, a national champion. Coach, on a busy day, thank you sincerely for taking a couple of minutes for us and our audience.
That's great. Thanks for having me. Go Tigers.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.